Welcome to the Endo Belly Girl podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Chavez. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner and restorative wellness practitioner on a mission to change the way that we support women with endometriosis. Endo is a full-body disease that impacts your mind, body, and spirit in countless ways that aren't often addressed the way that women truly deserve. We are here to talk about all of it. Please keep in mind that the content of this show has been created for educational purposes only and should never be used as a replacement for medical diagnosis or treatment. Hey, my friend, and welcome back to the Endo Belly Girl podcast. If you have ever felt overwhelmed trying to figure out if a supplement is actually going to help your endo or just drain your wallet, you're not alone. Today, I'm diving into one of the most popular supplements on the market for endometriosis, Endolls. Now, here's the thing. Supplements aren't a one-size-fits-all answer. What works for one person might completely miss the mark for another. So in this episode, I'm not just giving you my opinion, I'm breaking down the science behind each ingredient, analyzing what Endolls claims on their website, and showing you how to decide if this is the right fit for your body. By the end, you'll know exactly what to look for in any supplement and whether Endolls deserves a spot in your healing toolkit. So let's get to it. I'm Alyssa Chavez, your host and friendly neighborhood functional nutritionist and fellow endo warrior. Let's dig into this week's episode. So, for starters, I wanted to chat a little bit about what I like to look for in supplements when considering them for myself and for my clients. First of all, I like to look at individual ingredients. Will this have any specific benefit for that person, not just the general population that it's marketing to? And what exactly are you trying to support here? I also like to check out the company for quality. What's their sourcing like? Are their ingredients organic? Do their products contain any of the common allergens like gluten or dairy or soy or corn? I also like to check out the supplement label. Look at the individual ingredients, any fillers or additional ingredients. Again, checking out the quality of the ingredients, like what forms nutrients come in, things like that. I've taken some time to analyze Endolls from all angles, and my purpose here is not to convince you one way or another, but to help you to make a fully informed decision for your body. So, for starters, I spent some time, actually, I really went down a rabbit hole and spent several hours, if I'm honest, looking over the Endolls website. And first thing that you see, at least at the time of this recording, the text on the homepage says, "Beyond relief, beyond imitation, with years of dedicated research and hands-on experience, with thousands of cases, women across the globe have placed their trust in our pioneering approach since 2019. Cutting-edge innovation with a deep understanding of your needs to deliver exceptional results naturally." So I'm kind of reading between the lines here and trying to look at what is this actually saying? And at the end of the day, I feel like I don't really know. It's not really saying a lot here. It says thousands of cases, but what exactly does that mean? Hands-on experience with thousands of cases. Are we talking research on women and the actual results that they're getting from taking this supplement? Are they doing, double-blind research that really follows the scientific process? What does that actually mean? Was this actual legitimate research done? And if so, where is that research? Because I don't actually see the actual research on their website when I'm looking at it, which, kind of makes me wonder a little bit. And then they talk a lot about, in that little blurb at the top of the website, they're talking about cutting edge innovation. Okay, interesting. They deliver exceptional results naturally. Here's the thing. The word natural just doesn't really mean much. It sounds great, but there's no regulation with the word natural, really. It's one of those words that is put on products that can sometimes be potentially greenwashing. So It's something that I always take with a grain of salt when I see natural, because you have to realize there are certain things that you put in marketing on labels that is regulated. If something, for example, says organic, there's actually a certification, a process you have to go through in order to get that organic label that you can put on your products. Same thing with there's certain things like, I'm just coming back to food because I think we're more familiar with that as a general population. Things like eggs, right? In order for it to say pasture raised, it has to follow certain standards. So there's things like that, and that's very true with food, processed foods, with supplements. There's a lot of things that are put on labels, and we have to know A, what's regulated and what's not regulated, B, what actually means something, C, what things you want to actually look for on labels. And so we're not going to dig super deep into the nitty-gritty of all of that today. We're going to really focus the conversation around this particular supplement company. But we're going to circle back to that a little bit more at the end of the episode here. So stay tuned if that's something you're interested in digging into more. So next up, I started digging around on the website looking for info on the quality of the supplements. Now, I spent a lot of time looking at supplement companies. It's something that's really important to me because I'm not just using supplements for myself. I'm recommending supplements to my clients on a daily basis. And of course, it's never going to be a perfect art form. There have been times when I have once used a supplement and then later on found something out about it and decided to switch to another option. Sometimes companies change their formulations and, ends up being something that I don't like. Things like that can happen. But I really like to do a lot of research on the supplement companies that I use for my own body and recommend to others. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. But one of the big things that I really see, and this has been true through all of my training, so I'm going to circle back to this later in this episode, but this is going to come up as we go through the first part of this episode as well. I have a good friend and colleague. Her name is Kate Mahoney. And she's kind of known to be the supplement expert. She's some very unique education and training, and she actually now trains other practitioners in regards to supplement quality and how to look for supplements and how to analyze supplements, all the things. And I've been very fortunate to spend some time with her and be able to really learn from her. And that has helped me to just become a more discerning practitioner when it comes to supplements. I actually had Kate on the podcast a while back. That was episode number 36, Supplements for Endometriosis with Kate Mahoney. And we had a great conversation about all of this stuff. So if you're really interested in digging more into that, I will link to that episode in the show notes and you can go check that out. But I really like her because her information is unbiased. She doesn't work for any supplement company, never has. She has just taken the time to really research efficacy of supplements and quality and what to look for and the forms of all the supplements. There's so much that goes into that. It's such a rabbit hole. Anyway, I digress a little bit. But coming back to what I look for in supplement companies, one thing that I really love to see if I'm looking at a supplement company's website, or even they can't put as much information on a supplement label, but even looking at that, is that they're going to be transparent. How are they sourcing their ingredients? How are they coming up with these formulations? What are their priorities as a supplement company? What are their quality standards? Because I want to know that their quality standards match my quality standards. And typically, if a supplement company is really taking the time to make sure that they are using quality ingredients, things that are organic or allergen-free or are, third-party tested or something wonderful like that, they're going to want to share that and they are going to be very transparent. Whereas I have found that supplement companies that aren't willing to share that information or just aren't very upfront with that information, maybe kind of dance around that information on their website, that it doesn't necessarily immediately mean something bad is happening behind the scenes. I don't know, but it's a yellow flag for sure, where it's going to make me stop and question and want to dig deeper and want to know more. So some of the things that I see coming up is just as I'm clicking around to different pages and scrolling through the website, I see a lot of words like innovation, patented formula, science, plant molecules, AI, machine learning combined with old-fashioned biochemistry. And, again, I have some concerns with this part alone because I really did try to dig deeper. They have a page talking about the science, and I feel like in a way the science has kind of become a buzzword, especially in the years since our favorite virus came popping up in the world. And I don't know, there's just something about the way that they word this that just raises some concerns for me. Again, just kind of puts forth a little bit of a yellow flag where it makes me question what's really going on there. What is the science? Where is it? Why don't I see the actual research results and all the things? And yeah, it's always interesting to kind of navigate that. I guess what I'm really finding is just that there's not a lot of information. It seems to me that there's a lot of fancy sounding words and all the things, but not actually a ton of substance. So now this supplement that we're looking at, or collection of supplements, I should say, seems to be primarily an herbal supplement. And for me, this is my personal assessment, kind of the conclusion that I've come to over my years as a practitioner, is that I really like to take herbs in their whole form. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'm just, picking herbs and eating them fresh out of the ground. That would be pretty cool. I live in a more suburban type neighborhood, may not always be super accessible, as is true for most of us. So that's where we rely on supplement companies who are, hopefully taking that more whole and pure form of an herb, or even tea form or tinctures or whatever. But I don't know, I just found it a little interesting that they're taking some herbs and then they're doing something with molecules and biochemistry. Now, I am not a biochemist. I don't know much about biochemistry, so I'm not going to claim to. So I really can't speak from that perspective. It would be interesting to hear from whoever biochemist was doing the research on this. It'd be interesting to hear that perspective, because I can't say that I fully understand what they're talking about with some of this stuff. And I don't know, maybe that's the point. But I'm just asking questions here. What I'm trying to do here is just kind of play devil's advocate. I'm just walking you guys through my thought process and my evaluation. This is how I think about supplements when I'm looking at them. So I just wanted to mention that. And at the end of the day, the decision is yours, right? I'm not here to tell you to take a supplement or not take a supplement. I'm just here to help to make sure that you're making a fully informed decision, or that you have the ability to make a fully informed decision. So just wanted to throw that out there. They do mention on the website that they do some extensive safety training. I like to hear that. And then they say that this guarantees reliable results. And that's where I kind of got confused, because that doesn't quite connect for me. Extensive safety training is great, but how exactly does the safety training guarantee reliable results? Because at the end of the day, anything that you're putting into your body is going to react differently with everybody. So, even foods, some people do great with dairy, for example, and really thrive because it does have a lot of wonderful nutrients. And others, like myself, feel very, very sick if they eat dairy. So that's where I kind of get confused with the guarantees reliable results, because I just feel like any of the ingredients can interact very differently in one body compared to another. So, okay. Now, I did want to talk about the actual products. So starting out, it seems like kind of their main product that they're selling is the Flawless Essence Advanced Duo. So it's actually 2 supplements. And my first observation when I look at the sales page for that supplement or supplement duo there is that there does seem to be a lot of marketing. There's a lot of testimonials, and I don't actually find a lot of information on the supplements themselves. In fact, I actually had a bit of a hard time finding out what's actually in the supplements. The best I could do is find a photo of the supplement label. But even at that, given that it's a duo of supplements, I actually had a difficult time discerning which is which when I was looking at the labels. It does seem that they're intended to be taken together. I don't actually see an option on their website to purchase them separately anyway, so I'm just going to talk about them together because I legitimately can't tell which is which when I'm looking at the back of the label. So something to consider as well. It does say on the label non-GMO and vegan. So that's good to know. Non-GMO is definitely something that I care about in my quality standards. Vegan, not so much. I don't follow a vegan diet. I don't typically recommend that for clients unless that's something that's really important to them for one reason or another. But I do care if ingredients are organic, especially if they're herbal ingredients. And I don't see anything about that, which I was kind of bummed to see because I do prefer to see organic herbal ingredients whenever possible. Okay, so let's go through the ingredients. Now, keep in mind, I'm not an herbalist, but I do have a lot of knowledge around herbs because I use them a lot in my practice, in my own life. It is something that I do have quite a bit of training on, even though I'm not an herbalist, at least as of yet. It's on my list of things I'd like to do with my life, but one thing at a time here. Now, as always, these are not intended as recommendations, but purely educational around these ingredients and herbs that I'm going to talk about. So, first ingredient that I see here is valerian root. And that's one that I'm very familiar with. It's primarily used to support sleep as well as pain, which can be helpful. I have a tea that has valerian root in it that I like to drink before bed. I will say, though, it makes me pretty sleepy. So I do try to stick with nighttime for that herb. I don't like to take it during the day. And it does look like this supplement is recommended to take in the morning. So that's something that I would look out for if I were taking this, is just how do I feel energy-wise throughout the day after taking it. Now, valerian root has been shown to be supportive of pain levels as well, and just helping with the muscles to relax and all of that. So that's great and can be really supportive, but I would just consider the effects on sleep as well, and just how you're feeling during the day if you take that in the morning. Now, valerian root is generally considered to be pretty safe, can occasionally have some side effects. I feel like just about anything can. And that can look like dizziness, headaches, stomach problems, things like that you'll want to look out for. And then we have rhodiola extract. Rhodiola, I really like. It's an adaptogenic herb. It can be really supportive of your stress response and your adrenals. But the one thing I will say, and this is the way that I approach rhodiola in my practice, is that rhodiola is a more energizing herb. It helps to stimulate your nervous system. So if you have underactive adrenals, that can be really helpful. If your cortisol levels are just in the tank, everything's low, then something like rhodiola can be really supportive. However, a large percentage of the population also has overactive adrenals. And rhodiola is not something that I would recommend if you have an over-functioning adrenals, you have high cortisol levels going on. In this case, you would want a more calming herb. If you don't know, I always recommend testing to check things out, see how the adrenals are doing. I personally really like a Dutch adrenal panel for that. I just feel like it helps to see, you could see the kind of the cortisol rhythm throughout the day. That's what I use in my practice. You can test cortisol through the blood as well, but it doesn't give you the full picture if it's just in one moment of the day. So something to consider. Rhodiola can also have an effect on your blood pressure. It can help to lower blood pressure, which might be an issue if you already have low blood pressure. If you're on blood pressure medications or blood thinners, that's something that you might want to be aware of. I do find it a little interesting that they combine valerian and rhodiola. Again, I'm not an herbalist, so It's not something that I would immediately think to put together just because one is so calming and one is so energizing. Maybe they balance each other out, hopefully. I'm not sure what time of day that I would want to take this just because it seems like it's kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. So I just wanted to mention that. And then we have white willow bark extract, which contains salicin, which is a chemical similar to what's in aspirin. So that has been shown to be pain relieving, anti-inflammatory, which of course are things we want as endo warriors, right? It should be avoided if you have kidney disease, if you have asthma, stomach ulcers, if you have a sensitivity to aspirin, you may not want to take white willow bark extract. And again, that's going to have those kind of blood thinning effects as well. It seems like actually quite a few of the ingredients in here can affect blood thinning. So that's definitely something that you want to think about. I always recommend if you're on medications of any kind for any reason, that it's always good to double check with your doctor on some of this stuff as well, or look up, what things might interact with your medications. That's why I'm kind of going ingredient by ingredient here. And then we have nattokinase, which is an enzyme that comes from natto, which is a Japanese fermented soy product. It is also a proteolytic enzyme, like serrapeptase is another proteolytic enzyme. And those have been shown to help to support breaking down adhesions with endo warriors. I actually do sometimes recommend proteolytic enzymes to my clients. It can be supportive. I've taken them myself. Like anything, it's a matter of what proteolytic enzyme you're taking, right? Because again, the nattokinase does come from soy. So if you have a soy sensitivity, that might be something to consider, because soy is one of the foods that can be more inflammatory for people. So if you know you have a soy sensitivity or you suspect that this may not be the best proteolytic enzyme to be taking. It can also support blood thinning and breaking up blood clots. So again, you might want to avoid this if you are taking blood thinners, if you have blood thinning issues. And typically things that thin the blood like that are recommended to be avoided before and after surgery, which is a good thing to remember for endo warriors. Again, I always recommend if you're having surgery coming up or you're just before, just after, during, whatever, that you talk to your doctor about what you're taking, because they'll generally have recommendations about what to take and what not to take in those immediate times around your surgery. And then we have Rosa canina, which is a rose hip extract. It is an antioxidant. It's rich in vitamin C. It can be supportive for oxidative stress, which can be helpful for endo, can be anti-inflammatory. This one you want to be aware of if you have any iron storage issues, blood clotting issues, things like that. But it does definitely have some supportive effects. And then we have beta-D-glucan, which is a polysaccharide that comes from the wall of oats. Again, might be an issue if you're sensitive to oats. It has several uses in the body. Oftentimes it's used with cholesterol and heart stuff going on, but it also can be supportive of your immune system, which I'm guessing is the purpose of it in this particular supplement, because immune support can be really powerful with endometriosis. Specifically, it helps to stimulate macrophages, which are a type of white blood cell that really help to clean up waste in your body. And there have been some studies and publications about beta-glucan supporting immune health and healthy inflammatory levels. I will say the one study that I found on beta-glucan and chronic inflammation was done on mice, which I always kind of take with a grain of salt. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I think it's in many ways maybe necessary that they test on mice before animals. No, I don't love the studies on animals either. Not a huge fan, but that's kind of the standard practice these days in the scientific world. But I think it's important to note that study was not done on human beings. So I think it's just good to know that, because we are not mice at the end of the day, even though there are some similarities. So something to consider. Now, like I mentioned, there are 2 supplements in this advanced duo that you purchase. And the second one, if I'm understanding it correctly, because like I said, I'm just looking at the pictures on the website, what's the information that's available on the website. And I see 2 separate ingredients labels that honestly are very similar. So I hope I'm reading this correctly. But It appears that the second one that I'm looking at actually has very similar ingredients. It contains the valerian root, white willow bark, nattokinase, rosa canina extract, the beta-D-glucan, plus it has some DIM. It has the full name on the supplement label, which, oh my gosh, I apologize. I'm probably going to butcher this. Diindol methane. Oh, maybe that wasn't too bad. We all just call it DIM, D-I-M. That's the short name. And that one also didn't have the rhodiola. So it looks like they kind of just swapped the rhodiola for the DIM. Interesting. I do find it interesting that you're supposed to take these two supplements in the duo together, but they're so similar. It seems like there's only one ingredient that's different, unless, again, like I said, I'm misunderstanding because there's just not a lot of clarity on the website. DIM, though, is important to talk about in and of itself. It can be really great. DIM is something that I do use in my practice. I think it's a supplement that can be really supportive for some people. However, it's not for everybody. Definitely not for everybody. So DIM is a compound that's found in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, and it influences your estrogen metabolism. But it does that by actually pulling estrogens out of circulation. Now, that can be helpful if you have high estrogen and you aren't currently metabolizing it down the more beneficial pathway, but not everyone with endometriosis has high estrogen. In fact, some endo warriors actually have low estrogen. I have seen this in my clinical practice. I test hormones fairly regularly in my practice. I look at Dutch tests, I look at serum hormone tests, and I do see endo warriors all the time who have low estrogen, not high. It's kind of a common misconception that if you have endometriosis, you automatically have high estrogen. Not necessarily the case. And that would be very important to know before taking a supplement like this, because you could already be driving low estrogen levels even lower. So that's important to know. You don't want to be taking supplements that are going to impact your hormone levels without knowing what your hormone levels are and what's really happening in your body with the hormones. So definitely take that into consideration. So that's really what I see with that duo of supplements. That seems to be kind of their main thing. I noticed that they also make another duo called Ruby Radiance. That one I feel like even more so, I had a hard time finding info on exactly what's in it on the website. In fact, that duo, there actually wasn't even a picture of the supplement labels, which is another yellow flag for me. I really like to see transparency when I'm looking at supplements, as I mentioned before, and there's not a ton of that on these supplements, so I don't feel great about that. I actually can't even tell what's in the individual products, but it looks like the duo contains some antioxidants, some krill oil, some CoQ10, some selenium. I don't know if this is just the name of their other supplement. It just says Nano Elixir. I have a lot of questions. That was really my conclusion on this. I have a lot of questions at the end of that. Some of that stuff can be really supportive. Love me antioxidants. Krill oil is a type of omega-3s that can be really supportive. CoQ10 and selenium have, good purposes in our body, but again, it doesn't necessarily mean everybody needs them. I know long ago, when I first kind of dug into doing all the functional testing and everything, I discovered that I actually had my CoQ10 was too high. So this isn't something that would have benefited my body, at least at that point in time. So I don't know, just things to consider when it comes to these different supplements. So that's really all I could find as far as what's in it. So hopefully that breakdown was helpful for you. Okay. So putting all of that information together, I wanted to leave you with my 2 cents at the end of the day. So this is kind of the conclusion that I came to, just to wrap this all up with a little bow here. So personally, this isn't something that I would take. The lack of transparency just raises some yellow flags for me, so I already don't feel super comfortable. I see a lot of fancy language on their website, but not a lot of actual substance that tells me about the products and that gives me confidence in what's in them. Now, I do like some of the ingredients in the supplements. In fact, many of the ingredients seem to be things that can be supportive. And I tend to actually really like combo supplements, meaning supplements that have more than one ingredient in them, just because it can be very easy to get pill fatigue when you're just taking a ton of supplements at one time. And nobody likes that. So taking combo supplements that have multiple things in there at one time can be really supportive. And there's a lot of really good ones out there. But that being said, I also think it's important to look at the individual ingredients and how those impact your body or may impact your body. So typically, if I'm going to be recommending a supplement for a client and it has a long list of ingredients or even a not so long list, it has multiple ingredients. I'm going to be looking at each individual ingredient, what's in it, how might that work in their bodies, might any of those ingredients interact with medications or anything else I might want to consider. And as with everything, I just don't believe that there's a one-size-fits-all supplement for endo. I mean, the way it's marketed, it kind of makes it sound like you take these capsules and, all your problems are solved. And hey, you know what? If it works that well for you, great. I would never tell somebody to stop taking something that's working really well for their body, even if I have some yellow flags and concerns about it. Because it's your body. Nobody knows your body better than you. And if you genuinely are feeling better from taking it, cool. I'm happy for you. For me, again, some of the ingredients, I would just want to be really aware of what's going on in your body, particularly when it comes to the DIM and the rhodiola. I would want to know what's going on with your estrogen and what's going on with your adrenal hormones. I would be really interested to get that information before I would recommend either of those. Those aren't things that I would ever recommend in my practice without having done testing. There's some things that I feel more comfortable recommending. Most people, for example, can benefit from some magnesium and some omega-3s. I don't really need to go in and test every single person for those nutrients to see if they are good to go before I supplement them, because I just find that pretty much everybody needs those nutrients and they are typically tolerated very well. However, there are many, many other things in my practice that I will not recommend unless I have test results to see what's going on. So, for example, even something as simple as vitamin D. I know that's something that people commonly supplement with and can be very supportive. I love me some vitamin D, but you also can get too much. It's a fat-soluble vitamin, and you can actually have too much vitamin D. Sometimes people are, supplementing with high doses of vitamin D for long periods of time, and that can end up causing you issues. And DIM is definitely one of those that I would want to think about, as well as, like I said, that rhodiola. When I see the DIM on a supplement like this, to me, that just immediately tells me that the creators, whoever came up with this blend in the supplements, is just thinking that every endo warrior must have high estrogen and they must have the exact same hormonal picture. And that's just not true. That's not taking your bio-individuality into consideration. Because what I always recommend when it comes to supplements and how I support my clients with supplements is, number one, focus on bio-individuality. Not what works for endometriosis in general, but what's going to be best to support your unique body. And then I also always talk about remembering that supplements are supplemental. Supplements aren't going to be the solution. There is no one pill that you can take that will solve all your problems. I wish it were that easy. If I figured that out, I'm sure I would make lots and lots of money. But I'm more about supporting your body from the inside out, supporting the root of your symptoms. And that's just what I believe in. Supporting your bio-individuality and supporting your body from the inside out, not just, symptoms. So I hope that's helpful for you. That's my 2 cents on the Endolls supplements. I recorded this episode really because it's just something I hear about a lot in the endo world. I've had clients come to me asking about Endolls. I've had conversations with people. I've had people reach out to me on Instagram. And so I just wanted to create an episode kind of talking through it and letting you hear kind of my perspective on that. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Again, if you haven't before, make sure that you go back and listen to episode 36 with Kate Mahoney, my friend and colleague who I interviewed. It's called, I think it's called Supplements for Endometriosis with Kate Mahoney. Definitely recommend that one. It's a great little conversation that we had all about supplements. And I will link to that in the show notes. And remember, if you're looking for more bio-individualized support with supplements and just all the things, feel free to reach out. There's always a link in the show notes where you can schedule in a free 30-minute consultation with me. I'm happy to chat and help to guide you in the right direction. So, all right, my friend, that's all I have for today. I hope you have the most wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me today, my friend. If you loved what you heard, be sure to share with a friend and subscribe so that you can keep coming back for more. If you are ready to take the next step towards getting to the root cause of your endo symptoms like endobelly, pain, fatigue, and so much more, you need to download my free ultimate guide to building your own endometriosis diet. You can find the link in the show notes or at www.endobellygirl.com. Until next time, my friend.